Welcome to RV to Freedom Live with Carenza and Brandon.
Hello.
We are your hosts here on RV to Freedom and in the RV to Freedom Facebook group.
And the creators of the Roadmap to Full-Time RVing course, where we help people figure out what this whole full-time thing's all about.
And we've got a lot of Freedom RVers on tonight that I can see in the class that we just had our first Q&A session for this session last night. It's been great. So we're talking about Jello Plans tonight. So let me ask you guys, are you on the road yet? And if you are you...
Hardcore planner?
Yes, hardcore planners. You like to have everything lined up so that you know where you're going, when you need to be there, and you have reservations all made. And if you do that, have you ever had that time where something happens or something needed to change, and that one little change, maybe even just a day, started throwing a domino effect, a wrench in your plans?
Yeah, all of a sudden that one little change that's only supposed to affect today, it all of a sudden affects your whole next year, and you've got to figure out all your plans and reschedule everything and make cancellations and make new plans. So yeah, that's why some of us start to enjoy Jello Plans. Dwight's a hardcore planner.
Yeah.
So I would say when we started out, we were pretty strong planners, and by we I mean her. I left that up to her more, but we were strong planners because you've never had to think about where your house lives every day. Your house is always in your yard, but in an RV, your house has to have a place to be every single night. And when you think like that, then yes, it's scary. And it's like, I must plan everything. Otherwise, I'm going to be stranded in the road somewhere with nowhere to sleep.
Right. So there is a tendency to want to make sure you know where you're going. And that can work. We're not going to say it doesn't, because it can definitely work. But what you need to think about is, do you need a little wiggle room? And this is where Jello comes into play.
Yeah. So you take your map and you put it in a Jello mold and you put it in the fridge, and that's your Jello plan. I don't know.
Yes.
That's not even funny. I don't know why I said that. Anyway,
okay.
I try.
The Jello Plans. When we say that, it is kind of a funny term. And I'm going to give credit to our friend Nina from Wheeling It, because she introduced us to that term when we started RVing.
Yeah.
And from then on, we kind of started living our life with a little bit of Jello Plans in mind. So we have plans, but they're not
fully formed.
Yeah, they're not totally firm yet. You know, there's always some wiggle room in them. Yeah. And depending on what's happening, they may be half set. It may be full Jello, but there's still that wiggle factor in there.
And that plan could be, well, all right, so right now tomorrow's May, right? Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. And our next major events in December. Between now and December, that's Jello. And that's wiggly. And as we get closer, we'll firm up.
We do have Escapade.
We do have the Escapade coming up, but we've got that taken care of. That's no problem. But between, a lot of these things, we don't go and religiously, like, we don't have our summer planned out. And yes, that's a little scary because summer is a big time camping season. But from our experience, depending on where you want to go, you can leave those things looser. Now, if you want to get into Rocky Mountain National Park in the summer, you're going to need a little bit harder plan.
Right. But we like to keep them a little Jello. So we keep them, we have an idea where we have planned out, like, this is what we think we're going to do this year. And we're going to go up into Canada and across and go this way. So that's our general plan, but it's not fully firm. It's not firm yet.
And why would you do that? Why would you not firm up all your plans?
Because sometimes stuff happens. You could go a few different ways. And like one thing is, actually, let me hide that. What if you go to an area because you're traveling, right? And you're going to all these areas you've never been before. So you go somewhere and you're planning on staying a week, and you start looking around and you find out, I really like this place.
There's so much more stuff to do. Exactly. And you're like, but I'm supposed to leave, but I have all these things I want to do still. Jello Plans, you know?
Just stay.
If you don't have your next stop booked like the day after your current stop, then stay a little longer. You know, see if you can stay at the park you're in a little bit longer. See if there's another park you can move to and stay in the area.
I think we did that even right when we first started, basically, too. We stayed in Austin longer than we were thinking. We'd been to Austin before, but it's a cool town, and I had friends there.
And I actually made a mistake. I had a trip that I was supposed to fly out of the country. So we were in Austin so I could use the airport and fly. And I was a month off on my dates somehow. Like I said, I'm not the planner. She's the planner. And so because our plans weren't all strict, we could just stay another month. Fortunately, the park had a spot for us.
Yeah.
Hi, JP.
Yeah. And Daniel's right. Like Moab, 1 week turned into, you guys were there 5 weeks.
I would have stayed for 5 weeks if we didn't have to get moving. But that's and then the exact opposite is, what if you get somewhere and you just hate the place? It's just not for you. Or you don't like the park or whatever. You know, there's plenty of reasons we don't like places. So just leave.
Right. You know? Nothing says you have to stay.
Yep. Unless you've booked up a 3-month non-refundable, campground deposit, then yeah, you might want to stay. But if you try not to do too much hardcore planning, then maybe you just move on. Just roll to somewhere you did like.
Right. If you're not feeling it, you can move. And so that's kind of another reason. Hey, we just don't maybe want to have those plans so firmed up that you can't get out of anything.
Yep.
And there's times when, you don't really know exactly what's going on everywhere in the U.S., but as you go along, maybe you hear about some kind of event that you want to go to. And, well, Daniel was actually just saying Moab.
Yep.
And that is something that we didn't have on our plan and our radar to go to this year. But because we had just been in the fall.
I think it just kind of, came about while we were in the desert hanging out with other people. And then it was like, hey, let's do a Moab thing.
Well, we were at the Escapers annual bash, and we were hanging out there. And then JP, who's on here on this broadcast, saying that, well, we're going to have a Convergence in Moab in March. And we're like, well, we were just there in the fall, but you know what? It sounds like a lot of fun.
Yeah, these people don't suck too much, so we'll go hang out with them a little more and see what they got to offer.
Yeah, we were kind of going to go a different way and do some different stuff, but we went ahead and we changed our plans, whatever plans we had, to move to Moab in March, and that's what we did. And there are a lot of things like that you might just want to go ahead and attend. Like sometimes it's a festival, like a music festival that. I think that sounds pretty cool, or there's a bunch of people going I want to go with, and you turn around and you head somewhere else.
Yeah, we still never made it to that kite festival they have on the Oregon coast. But things like that, some of those things you just don't know about until you get in the area and you start looking at the little touristy brochures or the things they've put up, and you're just like, that's cool. I want to go check that out. So giving yourself some flexibility makes it easier just to do that. And it's not like, well, I got to put it on the list for next year when we swing back through.
Right. Exactly. And, we're talking about, we went to the Convergence because we were hanging out with people and we liked them. And that's another reason, sometimes you just want to hang out with your friends. So you stay longer, you go somewhere where they are. Daniel hung out with everybody for 5 weeks. We stayed an extra week, but we had to get moving. So
yep. But I got to drive Daniel's motorcycle, so that was cool. But we've had, and sometimes it's like the last day you're at a park is the day you finally meet somebody. And then you're like, oh crap, I'm driving away, but if you're not so firm in your plans, then maybe you don't have to leave. Maybe you just stay an extra day. And we've had that happen plenty of times. We've stayed extra time. Other people have stayed extra time, and you just kind of make it work out because you may not see this person again for a year or ever,
Right.
So just hang out when you can.
And the different way about that too is meeting someone new. I mean, it might sound kind of funny, but sometimes there's people that you have met online and you haven't ever got to meet in person, and they're going to be either in the place you are right after you plan on leaving, of course.
Yeah.
Or there's somewhere nearby. And so we've done that. I don't think Denny's on tonight. Sometimes he is, but We totally went to Schenectady, New York.
Schenectady, yeah.
just to go meet Denny and Veronica, which turned out to be some good friends of ours that we now meet up with all the time. But we were kind of headed in that general direction, but we just went ahead and turned however many miles off course just to go meet them.
And that happens all the time. And Jen Neely just said hi. Just last year, we kind of pseudo caravanned with Jen and her husband for a long time. And it's because we had met them in person a couple of years past, and we keep in touch on Facebook. We were finally together again for 2 years. So we just kind of moved along together, and maybe they would go to a spot before we got there, and then we would show up, and then we would go somewhere else and they would show up. But, by keeping plans loose, it made it easier to do that. It wasn't like, oh, we just have to turn and leave because of a reservation.
Right.
Shouldn't let reservations get in the way of life.
Yeah. I saw JP was saying 70 to 80% of people at a Convergence make plans to travel or meet up with other escapers afterwards. And that can't happen unless you got your Jello plans. Because, if you're locked in somewhere, it's very hard to change sometimes. And sometimes you just, you need that change.
Yep. And Daniel's got a good point. Is it on our list?
I don't think it is. I was
thinking
that too.
The weather might change your plans. The weather might push you out of somewhere, and maybe you just want to get going because it gets too hot or it gets too cold, or maybe you're camped in an off-grid area and some rain's coming in and you're like, I need to get out of here before this turns to mud, and I have to stay here a lot longer than I want to. So that's another good reason to keep things a little loosey-goosey and not be so concerned about having the RV somewhere every night. You can always get into a Walmart parking lot or something like that.
And reservations are good on some things, but sometimes it's just being able to know that you can change your reservation, or just making sure you have an idea, but
or reserve the
highlights.
It's like, okay, I got to do Yellowstone, and then but save some space between. Okay,
and so another big one, and this is actually why our plans changed. If I wrote about it in an email yesterday. So we were planning on coming to Indiana in a couple months, but we actually ended up here early. And that's because we had family needs. So this has actually happened to us a couple times. We came to Indiana early last year because my mom was moving, decided to move. And so we helped her get ready and pack up and move. Sometimes people get sick and you need to come home to help with something.
Or sometimes it's a new baby, like Kat's got a new grandchild in the family. So it's like, you want to go see, and you don't want to be stuck, having reservations dictate your life. Right. So there's those times when you just need to be there.
That's the great thing about having wheels, is that you can turn and you can go somewhere. And especially if you don't have to fly anywhere, if you can just turn and go, just go.
Yeah.
And that goes for friends too. And sometimes when we have friends back home, or friends not even back home, wherever your friends are, mine are spread out across the country anyway. And so we can just go there and be there. That can pertain to like, someone got engaged and they're having a party and you really want to be there for them. So,
or just one of your friends is on their vacation, their normal life vacation, and they happen to be just 100 miles away. You're like, well, just go see them. I think we met up with some friends of yours that you worked with in New York, but they were in Colorado, and we just went to hang out with them because we happened to be near enough.
Right. We were in the same area. Yeah. Why not?
Exactly.
Why not? And then, not the most fun reason to have Jello plans, but sometimes things happen. There are
Frank. Sorry, interrupted you.
Oh, I thought you said Jen, not Jane.
No.
Hi, Jane. Sometimes things happen and repairs have to be done.
Yep. These are mechanical beasts that we live in, and things happen. Sometimes they're planned things, but oftentimes repairs are not planned. And that's, if you don't want to, a simple 1 or 2 day repair, start to domino and cascade through 6 months of plans. So again, having a little Jello, especially
a
if
little
you've got-
wiggle room
Yeah.
can make a difference.
and even
So
putting
you know,
short-term Jello, a little Jello cup.
Right.
If you've got somewhere you've got to
I
be,
think that is a Jello shot.
a little Jello shot. If you've got somewhere you have to be and it's imperative that you're there, like for a flight or something else, give yourself a little Jello room on the way there so that you have a couple days to get there in case something were to happen.
Right. You just, because things happen, repairs that need to be done before you can move. I mean, if your truck
like Jen
is
said,
broken,
like getting your windshield replaced after following Jen and Dee's around.
yeah, that happens.
Yeah, they shot a rock in our windshield, and we got a brand new windshield for it. So.
Right, and so we had to be somewhere to get that brand new windshield put in, because it's not like they're everywhere.
Yeah.
And if we were had to go somewhere that they could get it to us, and we couldn't always be a tiny town, because they're not always in tiny towns. You're talking about a big motorhome windshield.
Towed car catches on fire.
Oh, yes. There's another example.
Yes.
From our life.
I mean,
we did have our
these
towed
things
car
happen.
catch on fire.
Our towed car did catch on fire. Our windshield did get broken, but they didn't our whole world's over. They were inconveniences, and they were dealt with, and we moved on because we weren't so strict.
Right. And so we did have to adjust. So, for example, when our towed car caught on fire, it was towed to El Paso. We were in West Texas, and
we wanted to go to Albuquerque.
We were actually trying to go to Carlsbad Caverns.
That's true.
But because we're in West Texas, there's only one place to rent cars from, and it's very small. It has 11 cars.
And they were all rented.
And they were all rented. So we couldn't get a car to rent. So we had to, and we couldn't really get it in Carlsbad. It was very strange. So we had to skip the caverns for that time so we could go up to Roswell, where we ended up renting a car.
Yep.
And so we had to just kind of go with the flow, and that's still on our list to get back to now. Yeah. We still have to get back to it, but we had to go with the flow and just kind of get that wiggle room and skip it for now and know we can come back. But it made it easier for us to maneuver and just go ahead and skip it. And
it wasn't such a big deal.
Right. Inconvenience, but
it was minor. It wasn't like we had a lot of things booked and it was just screwing up our whole plan, because sometimes it's yes, that's an inconvenience, but it's really more in your mind. You've made all these plans and you're so dedicated to what I'm about to do that when something messes it up, it just upsets your whole plan. But your plan never happened yet. So whatever, forget it, just do something else. But it's mentally, it can kind of wear on you when you feel like you're just, your whole year is ruined because you got a flat tire.
And that's kind of part of that Jello plan mentality, is really just kind of freeing you from that feeling if something happens, I'm messing it up, and putting that weight on yourself.
Yeah. It's
just kind of a little more wiggle room. And I think a lot of people, as they get going in this life, it's a little easier to start doing. I mean, like he said, we planned a little more up front when we first started. We pretty much don't plan anymore.
Yeah.
You don't have to be like us.
Well, there are times when we need to plan.
There are times when we do plan. But we have to plan at certain times and certain times of the year where we want to go. But for us, we've loosened up a lot. And you can kind of be in between there.
But sometimes you get so loose that you forget to fill up your propane tank before you go 35 miles down.
I was thinking a lot of times holidays. I forget about holidays.
Yeah, we forget it's the 4th of July and the campground's about to be full. So.
But, it makes it a little easier, and you can kind of be in between there. But not having to feel like I have to have everything regimented, and that one thing happens and I need to change it, it's going to throw off everything, can kind of lift a weight off your shoulders. So I hope these reasons kind of show you why Jello plans are a good thing, and it's something to think about, and why we talk about, you'll hear in RV language a lot, Jello plans and wiggle room.
JP said, we're still planning on May, right? I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah, we'll be there.
Yeah.
We're there.
We'll be there. That's
We're
an
going to
important
Missouri.
thing
We're
we need to be to. So
jump to Indiana, but we're going back to Missouri and then back.
Yeah.
So, yes. And JP's right. We are going to, we're going to Escapers thing, and then we're going to the Escapade. So if any of you will be at the Escapade, we'll be there. Come say hi. We're doing a few seminars.
Right in the middle of Missouri. We actually drove past it on the way here and looked at it, and then we're now up in Indiana. So that's Jello Plans. And I think, a lot of people had some just regular comments. There was a quick comment about Thousand Trails, and Jonathan says he loves it, and it's really good if you need. He's got my tent. I let him borrow my tent.
I thought he was putting us in a tent and kicking us out of our RV. Yeah. I did not. I forgot. Okay.
Thousand Trails can be a nice thing. As it relates to Jello Plans, sometimes you do have to plan a little bit more with Thousand Trails because they do have kind of rules about how you get in and out of it. But yeah, it's great for full timers if you really, if you want to stay in parks and you're on a tight budget, it's a good way to go. Let's see.
Susan's asking about last minute weekends, and that's sometimes where you need to plan a little bit more, and that it
especially as you move into the summer.
Yeah, the summer, and it can depend on your area. Sometimes it's just more of the overall plan setting and knowing if you want to be in a certain area that you want to plan. But bring it into the student group. We could talk more about it there on our Q&A and then during the week, and we'd love to discuss it. But there are times when you want to plan and times where you just need that wiggle room. So depending on what you're doing. I
really like for those times, first come, first serve parks if they're nearby, because as full timers, we can roll in on a Wednesday and then just post up all weekend. Whereas, a regular person, they can only get there on a Friday night. So that's a way we can kind of beat them to the good spots.
Yeah.
Oh, they auctioned off the okay, that's fine.
So we are sleeping in a tent.
Nice.
Okay. Yeah.
Well, that's all, guys. We just wanted to talk to you guys about Jello Plans and keep this one short and tight because we are here to visit family, and we're gonna go hang out with them.
Yeah.
And
we just want to get straight to the info.
Yeah.
Get you guys what you need. So, we'll talk to you all next week, and of course, hang out in the group, and we'll see you there.
All right, guys.
See you later.
Maybe. Wait. There it is, the Jello Plans. All right, see ya.
We hope you enjoyed this replay of our Facebook Live show.
Join our Facebook community to participate in the live shows and learn how to live in an RV.
Go to rvtofreedomgroup.com to join the RV to Freedom Facebook group.
And to be notified about our next live videos and more, sign up with the link provided below in the video description.
We want to help you find your RV to freedom.